There will be spoilers ahead. Lots of spoilers, so be careful, won't you? Oh man, I just have to have sex or I'll die. I'll just die. And the only way to get the best sex is to go to Europe. I mean, everyone there is just having it all the time. They do it with Jell-O, pizza. Heck, they have nude beaches in the middle of the Vatican. Everyone knows that. And all the women have names that make you think they're men. Is that crazy or what? I have no money or brains, but there is no way I am not going to spend the summer in Europe not having sex on every blade of grass, drinking beer out of the stranger's underpants. No way. And Max, you have to come with me. It's just insane there because it's Europe. It's a known fact. Sex for breakfast, sex for tea, but you can't have your sex if you don't eat your meat. One thing you can have, even here, is Max Mike movies.
That's right.
We jest. Everyone really knows
yes.
there's no sex at all in Europe. I read it on a matchbook cover somewhere.
I thought that was just in England.
That too. They used to be in Europe, now they're not. I guess you can vote yourself off a continent. I didn't know that was true, but apparently it is. But if you really want to know about sex and then cry, you can just ask our host, Max. Careful where you put that, Levine. Turn your head and cough, Max.
Did I mention I cried?
I cried. And
I
me.
cried a million tears.
And
Thank
me.
you, Morrissey.
No, don't thank Morrissey ever. And me, I can only be Mike. I don't get no loose. Together, we totally went to Europe, and boy, oh boy, did we get... we're doing a movie this week, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Oh,
yeah. 2004's Eurotrip, a movie suggested by one of you, our listeners.
Your fault.
This one's come to us from Dave.
Dave!
Longtime listener, longtime commenter. We want to know what's so funny in this series of the same name, and this week we're going to find out. Right after all the sex. But first, we have many replies to our poll question. Last time out, we
Hang on, sorry, I got to stop you. I'm still having sex. Okay, let's go.
I could tell by the boingy boingy.
Yep.
Yeah, was it European sex, Max?
It was indeed.
Sex Max.
Which means we had to use the metric system.
Yeah, 5 centimeters. Sex Max, is that your new nickname? Sex Max.
That's right. Yep. With
Anyway,
3 X's.
last time out, we asked what movie's soundtrack made you want to hear more of that band's music or that genre of music. You had this to say, and we have you to thank. Matt McStravick said, quote, many entries here. Toto's Dune score, Daft Punk's score to Tron Legacy, M83 score for Oblivion. A more classic soundtrack, where the movie is meant to be a jukebox or music video, would of course be Queen's contributions, if not trailblazing, to soundtrack work, Flash Gordon and Highlander. End quote. All interesting.
Who wants to live forever?
No, not me. All interesting choices. Thanks, Matt. Dave Meiselman was next with, quote, also multiple entries. The Big Chill pulled me and much of the country down the Motown rabbit hole with Marvin Gaye and the Temptations.
True.
Pulp Fiction introduced me to Dick Dale. Garden State hooked me with the Shins, and +1 to Flash Gordon, though I was already a Queen fan, end quote. Thanks, Dave.
Nice.
Jamie Kleinert wrote, quote, The Last Unicorn, Red Violin. I've played some of the caprices that Corigliano wrote for that. Pretty much any all of John Williams scores, but especially Star Wars. I love playing professional rep and recognizing snippets that he stole. Most recently, I recognized some of the Dagobah motifs in the Poulenc Gloria. Soundtracks are a large part of what got me interested in learning and teaching music. I also had the inverse happen. I got more interested in Highlander once I learned Queen did the soundtrack, end quote. Wow, lots of good stuff. And John Williams. But are you familiar with his influential incidental music from Gilligan's Island or a theme from Lost in Space? Thanks, Jamie. Tim Potter merely said, quote, Blade Runner, end quote. Vangelis, and we thank you, Tim. Val Coons, whose footsteps are always cued, posted, quote, This is Spinal Tap and The Commitments. That's a band I should have added to last week's poll answer. So darn good. Ooh, and That Thing You Do, end quote. There was only that one song in that thing you do. Do you mean the music of Fountain of Wayne? Oh, thanks,
Sure.
Val. Yeah. It's fountaining and it's Wayne. Nick Hoffman had things to say. Quote, Star Wars made me notice composers. I hadn't really been aware of them before, but I immediately was aware of John Williams. Then it opened up a bunch more. James Horner, Star Trek II. Maurice Jarre, Lawrence of Arabia. Eric Wolfgang Korngold, Captain Blood, The Seahawk, The Adventures of Robin Hood. Hans Zimmer really caught my attention with Gladiator. John Barry tended to copy himself, but really had some fantastic romantic scores. And Michael Kamen, end quote. That last one, don't know a movie associated with him, but that's okay. Thanks, Nick. Do you know Michael Kamen?
I don't know any of those people.
Really? Well, you
Except
know
John Williams.
James Horner, yeah, he's done tons of stuff. The other ones I'm not particularly... No, Hans Zimmer, yeah, I know his stuff. He's
Oh,
done
Hans
everything,
Zimmer I've heard of, yeah.
which is German for John Room. It's true, look it up.
Ein Zimmer.
Tony Merrill answered with, quote, Cat Stevens, Harold and Maude, end quote. See our entire episode on
yeah.
Harold and Maude. Thanks, Tony. Derek Steele offered Don't Say It. Quote, The Social Network...
Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D.
He's a photographer. Derek
That's his
Steele
cover.
offered, quote, The Social Network, Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross. Obviously well-versed in Nine Inch Nails, but that other dude added some cool depth. Now he's a member of Nine Inch Nails, end quote. Awesome! Thanks, Derek. Who is...
Rock on, dude.
Party on, Wayne. Roland Hardy's answer was, quote, The Mission by Ennio Morricone, end quote.
Oh, wow.
Thanks, Roland.
Obscure.
Yeah, but hey, if that's what got you to Ennio Morricone, it's great.
Yeah.
Keith Wright, often heard on that excellent podcast, Q Footsteps, wrote, quote,
Most excellent.
There's a movie called Haywire with Gina Carano. The soundtrack is very cool.
Oh,
it's like
yes.
jazz mixed with a blaxploitation soundtrack. The movie isn't great, but after seeing it, I went on Amazon and bought the soundtrack. Also, the soundtrack to The Social Network by Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross is stellar, end quote. Ooh, a couple votes for Trent, a couple votes for Johnny Williams. Thanks, Keith. Tyler Stewart helped us out with, quote, The movie Constantine got me interested in soundtrack composer Graham Revell. This doesn't count, but The Masked Singer significantly expanded my knowledge of pop music in general. I literally didn't know who Billie Eilish was before I saw The Sun perform When the Party's Over, end quote. Well, Billie's tops in my book. Thanks, Tyler.
Wow.
Dave gave us, besides this week's movie, quote,
Yep.
I have an inordinate dislike of soundtracks, but no point in ranting.
Oh.
The two that get regular play from me are The Harder They Come and Repo Man. The artists I've explored from those soundtracks are Jimmy Cliff and Jonathan Richman, even though Jonathan isn't technically on the Repo Man soundtrack. When I found out that
one
he
of his
wrote...
songs is.
I guess, but I guess he doesn't perform on it. When I
Yeah.
found out that he wrote Pablo Picasso, I checked him out and I love his work. I only own one soundtrack that is not more properly viewed as a collection of hit singles. It is the soundtrack to a French film I can't pronounce, but which thankfully he provided the translation is Ascent to the Scaffold. I like the mood of that soundtrack and the tone of the trumpet, but compositionally, it is not Miles Davis' most interesting album by any stretch, end quote. Well, for someone that doesn't like soundtracks who still gave us a cool answer, thanks, Dave.
Yeah.
Angelo Patsalis only wrote, quote, Stealing Beauty, end quote. Well, thanks, Angelo.
Yeah.
Margaret Trouth posted, quote, Lost Highway introduced me to Barry Adamson, if I remember correctly, end quote. She wrote IIRC, but I would translate that
Wow, I don't
for her.
know either of those. You don't know that movie? I don't
Lost
know that,
Highway, isn't that the Twin Peaks movie?
No, that's Fire Walk With Me.
Oh, why do I have a feeling it is a David Lynch film? I'm not
It wouldn't
positive.
surprise me.
Yeah.
Although yeah.
Well, thanks, Peggy. But way, way up past the tree line where only penguins, walruses, and Vince dare to go, we get an answer from... What the heck was that?
That's a penguin call.
No.
That
no,
is
it isn't.
exactly what penguins sound like.
I think
Prove me wrong!
I think I would go with Toucan Sam, but that's all right. Anyway, we get an answer from Vince. He said, quote, My introduction to soundtrack music came when I bought John Williams' soundtrack to Jaws and followed with Star Wars, The Fury, and others, but he also piqued my interest in other composers for films like Jerry Goldsmith. I was already into classical orchestral music, so it might have been a natural progression. Well, classical music and David Bowie, end quote. Thanks, Vince.
Nice combo.
Yeah, but Max, what about you? What movie's soundtrack opened a musical door for you? A magical musical door.
Well, obviously, it was Repo, the Genetic Opera.
Yeah.
No, oddly enough, it was last week's movie, Blues Brothers, got me really into R&B.
Right.
And especially, it just got me nuts for Ray Charles. So that was the main one. The other, oddly enough, was, Tapeheads.
Oh, whose music?
Which, Sam Cooke and Junior Walker.
Okay.
Who were the swanky modes. But also just, it was such this interesting pastiche of different kinds of music.
Yeah, Fishbone's in there.
Yeah, Fishbone's in there, Devo's in there. A lot of people are in there. Even, the people they make reference to, like Bonnie Raitt. Not the Bonnie Raitt.
See our entire episode on Tapeheads. Yeah.
What about you? What magical musical doors were opened for you by the world of cinema?
And slammed right in my face. No, Magnolia. It was one of those films, those rare films where they said, no, we only want one person to do the entire score, like The Graduate.
Oh, this brought you to Amy Mann, didn't it?
It did. I had forgotten her. I'd heard the Till Tuesday single, It's So Scary. I'm sorry, Voices Carry. And I'd forgotten about that and blah, blah, blah. And then I heard this soundtrack. I'm like, who the heck is that? I really liked these songs and this music. And it was Amy Mann. And I've been a fan of Amy Mann ever since. The other one is a movie that you and I saw together. And it was Miles Away. And it introduced me to Miles Davis.
Miles Davis, yes.
Yeah. And it got me into jazz. Not heavily, but, I own quite a few jazz albums here. And it made me... It's that particular album, which was Kind of Blue, is honestly a gateway. If you're not into jazz, don't understand, I don't get jazz. Kind of Blue is basically a lot of people's entry point to jazz, and it's really worth looking at. Now, that being said, Miles would leave that behind fairly quickly and go off in tons of different directions, but still. So, well, that's all well and good, but there is no way we are going to move ahead without more answers to yet another poll question. And
we are insatiable.
And this poll question is brought to you by Bumpy Puck Cereal. The cereal that lets you make a horse of yourself. I don't know. We want to know, what is your least favorite comedy? What movie did you find blindingly unfunny even when everyone around you was laughing themselves sick? Let us know, and we promise not to make a series out of your answers. Before we get
God. What a night. Don't even joke about that.
Yeah. Hey, everyone, we'll do a series of the films you hate the most.
Because we hate ourselves and want to watch nothing but terrible, terrible comedies.
We won't tell them what we watch in our downtime. All I can say is Paradise is the name of a motel. Anyway, that's a deeper. Before we get to trivia, we had a sort of kind of bit of Listener Mail. When we posted a rerun link to our episode on It's a Wonderful Life, one of our listeners and frequent commenters, Adam Mark, left us a very interesting note, and I want to share it with you here. He wrote, quote, "A comment of yours that struck me was towards the end. It's a bit Norman Rockwell. That's just the thing. Just as Rockwell portrayed a stylized, optimistic, good-at-heart America, so too does Capra portray our world, Bedford Falls, the Main Street, USA, in the same manner. When George is shown in an alternative world, he expresses horror in being shown the world as it actually is, where the beautiful and flashy are exploited then thrown away, Violet, where the idealistic and pure are beaten down into mirthless drones, Mary, where good-natured people are rendered darker and more suspicious of one another, Bert and Ernie, and where the soft twinkling magic of our childhoods is ripped away, revealing crass, glaring neon. Should George Bailey be praised for returning to his Rockwellian paradise, or condemned for allowing the fates to cloud his eyes against humanity's true nature once more? Why is he not shocked and horrified that his family and friends' ability to live lives of basic dignity requires the sacrifice of all of his dreams and his agency, like Job in the Old Testament? The film Groundhog Day, 1993, is an interesting opposite bookend to It's a Wonderful Life. Same seclusion in an idealized small town of well-meaning people. But what if it's the protagonist who is flawed and he must go back and make life better? It's a Wonderful Life is a masterpiece of a film with every player at their best. Brava! End quote. I thought that showed some really interesting insight, and I want to thank Adam for writing us and listening to that episode. What do you think of what he had to say?
That's a really intriguing take on it, the idea of, that fantasy versus reality. Huh.
Yeah. And
Wow.
in that case, I'm with George Bailey, quite honestly.
Yeah. I like his fantasy world better than the real world. I like but Frank Capra. People refer to Capra-esque films. He himself referred to it as Capricorn.
Well, and there's something to be said about that, but there's also something really comforting about that.
Oh, it really is.
Yeah. Well, if any of you want to send comments, well, we'll tell you how to do
Please.
it at the end of the show. But yes, please do. But now we get to trivia in a little segment I like to call
The facts.
Budget 25 million. Awesome! Take 20
Radical.
million. Not so awesome.
Strange that we're up to Eurotrip 25.
Yeah, you noticed that, huh?
Uh-huh.
Europe! We get to see all of Europe in this film. Well, actually, all we get to see is Prague. Yeah, they added all the landmarks like the Vatican, the Houses of Parliament, etc. with special effects.
Figured.
And what wasn't filmed in Prague was filmed in L.A. It's literally like 95%
What part of
Prague.
Europe is that?
Europe. And just for fun, they filmed the graduation party with kegs of real beer. Whee!
Is that legal? Well, I mean, considering no one in that movie is under 18 or probably under 21.
I would like to go with The Club Wandersex scene was actually a replacement for a scene for one that was considered too risque and too insulting. In the original, the sex club is called the Secret Room. Getting lost, Cooper instead finds his way into the Anne Frank house, gets naked on her bed, and waits for a mistress. Well, you can guess where it would have gone from there.
Dear.
Ha, ha. I'm doing you a favor by not reading what was supposed to happen next. But, yeah.
I think they made the right call.
Yeah. Oh, did you catch that clever Die Hard reference? The two guards at the Dutch sex club are named Hans and Gruber.
Oh, and Gruber. Yes, I did actually catch that. The
Mika.
fun we have.
Yeah, well, the fun we have, yeah. Mika, that name that is supposedly common among German women, yeah, it's a Dutch name, but it's all Europe, so whatever, right? Original name of this movie, The Ugly Americans, but the producers changed to make it sound more like one of their other movies, Road Trip. How the hell did they get Matt Damon for this movie?
Matt Damon!
Matt Damon! Well, he was in town filming The Brothers Grimm at the same time, and he was wearing a wig for that part anyway, so he had no problem shaving his head to be the punk rocker. So, you know what? Good for Matt. Shows he has a sense of humor.
Okay, yeah, and he knows how to go with the flow. That's cool.
Speaking of Matt Damon, of all the lines spoken in films by Matt Damon, apparently, Scotty doesn't know is the line most repeated back to him.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay,
they
not
walk
how
up-
do you like them apples?
Not even that. Apparently, Scotty doesn't know is the top one.
Okay.
So as there's really not a lot of trivia this week, let's instead make some up.
Okay.
When the Pope is declared dead in the film, audiences in Italy rioted and threatened to burn down the theater on its opening night. True.
I think...
True.
Well, wait, I thought you were making this up.
Bratislava threatened to sue the producers for its depiction in this film. They were later placated with a box of Krispy Kreme donuts. The song Scotty Doesn't Know actually charted at number 5 on the Brazilian Top 40. It has spent 463 weeks at that spot and is now the theme song to the National Brazilian Football Club. No, really.
I think you're lying, Grandpa.
And lastly, the part of Scotty, while credited to actor Scott Malkovich, was actually played by Dame Judi Dench.
She can do anything.
Isn't she amazing?
She's a global treasure.
Cute, chubby little Judi Dench.
Clever, funny.
Max, do you have anything to add? Do you know any more real trivia to Eurotrip?
Well, the horny Italian guy who keeps trying to molest Jamie is played by the legendary Fred Armisen. Other than that, I can tell you this much. That was not the fireplace that they use when the new pope is announced. That is this whole weird little firebox that they place a special chemically treated cloth into. It's a dedicated chimney. It's not just some fireplace in a room.
You mean that wasn't the real Vatican as depicted in Prague?
Do you need a minute? I realize this is a shock given the colossal realism that we saw.
I'd like to go back to my statement about Krispy Kreme donuts, just in case.
Yeah. No, I got nothing else.
Well, let's get to the plot.
Yeah.
We'll just skip that line at the Vatican and get right to the plot. Scotty is a bumbling fool. On the day of his high school graduation, his longtime girlfriend dumps him in front of everyone. Facing a summer of boredom and frustration, he instead fixates on a German woman whom he thought was a man that he's been corresponding with via email. When he realizes that she is not some dude from Krauttown, he decides that it would be a great idea to fly with his best friend Cooper and somehow find her in Berlin. And so they go, meeting their other friends, twins Jenny and Jamie, in Paris. From there, it's a wacky bit of hopscotch as they leapfrog their way around various European capitals, trying to make their way to Berlin and Mika, Scotty's love. Along the way, they befriend British soccer hooligans, an odd man in Bratislava, a very odd Italian man on a train, a married man named Christoph, and a corral of creepy characters that in no way insult anyone who's ever lived anywhere in Europe. Because they're all sex-crazed maniacs there, right?
Yep.
Eventually, Scotty and crew catch up with Mika in Rome, and oh, the hijinks they cause at the Vatican. Can true love, lust, win out over incredible odds? And will Mika even want to deal with Scott, whom she's only met through email? I hate to say it, folks, but there is only one way to find out. Or you can just listen to the rest of the show.
The film.
So, Max, had you seen Eurotrip before?
Not all of it. I'd come across it on cable every so often and seen a scene here and there, but I'd never seen the whole movie.
That might actually be a good way to see it. Oops. So this is the first full-time viewing of Eurotrip.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, how about you?
Oh, yeah, I had never even heard of it till Dave mentioned it. When he said Eurotrip, I thought it was one of the European vacation films somehow, but I didn't know it was a sex-crazed, horny teen. Please hear that word in quotes.
Yeah.
Is anyone in this film under 25? I'm not sure that they are.
I doubt it.
Except his young brother, who I don't even want to talk about. Well, then let's get to the cast, because we have this all-star cavalcade. The lead, I guess, of this film is Scotty, played by Scott Malkovich. Clever there. I wonder if he suffers from Tony Danza syndrome.
Oh, yes, Scott Malkowitz, who we all know from...
No, he was in... was it...
No, he was the guy in that... okay, I have no idea who this guy is.
I don't either.
Same with his best friend, his sort of Garth to his Wayne, his Stifler to his... whatever the hell the other guy in American Pie's name was, Jacob Pitts, who plays Cooper Harris. I don't know who he is.
He's son of Zazu Pitts. That's a personal deeper. Zazu Pitts. Look her up.
Yeah.
So what do we think? Well, we'll just put them together. What do we think of these two in their performances?
What performance? Oh, right. Yeah. Now they're fine. They're placeholders. They are basically hooks onto which they hang various scenes, jokes, tropes, whatever. Mm-hmm. They're kind of ciphers. I mean, it's like, hi, I'm the basically nice guy who's a bumbling clod, and hi, I'm the horn dog jerk who has no filter on his mouth. So they manage their respective cliche parts perfectly adequately.
And they're more or less a more mobile Dante and Randall.
Yeah, kind of. Except not as articulate.
I honestly think Dante and Randall from Clerks are a much more interesting pair of characters. Well, Randall's the biggest jerk in the world.
Yeah, except those guys actually know things. Randall and Dante have clearly either paid attention to all the movies they've watched or they've actually read the occasional book. These guys don't know anything.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a whole thing where, as they point out, Scotty's little brother, who's taking intro to German, his German is better than Scotty's.
Yeah.
Who is supposed to be, I guess he's been taking it for 4 years.
I also loved there's one point where they actually translate a German word incorrectly. What's zusammen mean? It's like zusammen means all together. It doesn't mean to form a meeting.
That's right. That was the Beatles song, All zusammen jetzt.
Yeah, which means all together.
That's how they translate it. Yeah.
So
But,
whatever.
They actually got so even the creators got it wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're just not very interesting, but they're not really supposed to be.
Well, good. They succeed then.
Yeah.
They're not very interesting.
Cooper is an idiot.
Yeah.
Although I have to say his sum up of the relative sexual histories of America and Europe is kind of dead on. It's like, you got to remember, this country was founded by prudes.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Puritans.
Yeah.
Who were vehemently anti-sex.
Yeah.
And that entire value system is still endemic in our culture.
Yes, unfortunately.
Yeah.
However,
Yeah,
that does not mean going to Europe means you're automatically going to have wild sex in the streets.
Oh, it totally does. It says so in Frommer's.
I kind of like the point where they meet Mr. Frommer as if there's
Arthur Frommer.
Yeah, sure.
I think there was a Frommer.
I'm sure
there
at
was
some
a
point.
guy, but I think that was, 90, 100 years ago.
Yeah.
But yeah, I that was cute where, Jamie, the evil twin.
Evil? He's not evil. He's like uptight. He's the uptight twin.
He's the ultra planner, the type A.
Yeah.
Oh, good heavens, I've got everything all organized, and I carry a guidebook, and I wear a travel wallet, which I am sorry, they should not make fun of that. That is actually a really smart thing to do.
Yes, it is. I will say this, too. Of the three guys, his character has the most depth, which is weird to say, but
think?
Why? Because we actually see that he has habits and he has insecurities, which neither of the two main characters have. One of them is like, I'm fixated on this one woman that I thought was a guy, and the other one's like, I'll screw anything. That's their entire characers. We know nothing else about them.
Jamie does have a bit more inner life. We know he he loves cameras. He likes to take pictures.
Yeah.
He's obsessed with travel facts.
Yeah.
And he's apparently qualified to be a guide in the Vatican.
Yeah, no. But that's the Vatican in Prague, the Eastern chapter. But yeah, I want to skip over Jenny just for a second because there's a weirdness to her character that I want to take some time with.
Okay.
And there's not many other people to talk about. We get Kristen Kroik, who plays the initial girlfriend to Scotty, Fiona, who's there for 5 seconds, and quite honestly, her portrayal comes down to having a really good time while Matt Damon sings the main point of this movie, which is the song Scotty Doesn't Know, which is a song about how the fact that Scotty's girlfriend has in fact been screwing him for months and practically even before they met. I don't know. But she's barely there.
And by the way, that is a really friggin' catchy song.
It is a really catchy song.
Scotty Doesn't Know. It really is. It's a really earworm.
I actually wondered if it hadn't been written by the guy from Fountains of Wayne because it had that same catchiness as That Thing You Do. But it was not.
No.
And then there's a bunch of other people and Matt Damon. And Matt Damon, he gets up on stage and he rocks out. And honestly, I know he's lip syncing, but he's fun.
He's very convincing. You believe he's like some, douchebag rocker.
Yeah. So, a little clap for Matt Damon. But Michelle Trachtenberg.
Yeah. Who is probably best known as Dawn from Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Ah, okay. What is the deal with her treatment?
Yeah, it's very confusing, especially with the whole thing. One of the running gags, especially from Cooper, is when she has to keep reminding him that she's a girl.
Yeah.
Nobody who looks at Michelle Trachtenberg would not know she is a girl.
It's so weird. Like they keep treating her like was a tomboy or something. Maybe she was. There's no evidence of it now. I mean, these guys have to be utterly blind.
Now, to be fair, that is a thing that happens. These guys, the implication is, although we're not really told, they've known each other since they were little kids.
Yeah, but she also keeps saying, there's a girl present that's mixed company, and they talk about having sex. I want to find a girl to have sex with, and she's like, blink, blink, And quite honestly,
they always say you're just a guy with long hair. I think is one of Cooper's lines.
And I'm sorry, there are sometimes you can get actors that can portray that.
Yeah.
Like I want to say Tatum O'Neal. I mean, we're going to
she
Bad
could
News
pull that
Bears and
off.
stuff. Yeah, but that's the way her character wants to be seen. She wants to be seen
Yeah.
as just another one of the guys.
That's how she projects. That's how she presents herself, is as more masculine.
To me, there is nothing masculine or guy-like about Michelle Trachtenberg.
No.
It's not until they get to the nude beach, and we're going to talk about that in a second, where she takes off her hugely baggy sweatshirt, and somehow that's when Cooper notices, oh, wait, she has breasts. It's like, it's not like she's been
sort of.
hiding them through the rest of the film.
No, I mean, she is kind of willowy in the way she's not particularly curvy,
I mean, she
but
needs a
she's
sandwich.
definitely a woman.
Yes. So I totally didn't understand that whole, well, you're not a girl thing. It didn't make any sense.
That was
to me.
odd. That was an odd running gag, except again, you have to assume it has something to do with the personal dynamic they've had since childhood.
Yeah.
I kind of like the way they portray them as twins. You know, she's Jamie's twin sister.
Yeah.
And as they keep saying, one of the other running gags is, "You are the worst twins ever."
Yeah.
Because they don't get, they don't have any of that telepathic bond that twins have.
Which is
they
real.
don't finish. Well, I know people who are related to twins who've had things like one gets hurt and the other one feels it. There are recorded instances of things like that, but there's nothing there. They don't have the same tastes. They don't remember what each one likes.
Yeah.
They aren't freakishly close, except in one scene.
Yeah, because
That was awkward.
you know what's funny? Incest is really funny.
Especially, you know what's even funnier than incest? Twincest.
Yeah.
Well, it's not even twincest. It's they get drunk at a club on the strongest absinthe I've ever heard of.
Yeah, because
Did you notice they're in a club in Bratislava, which is a city, by the way, in Slovakia.
no, Bratislava is its
Slovakia
own
is-
country now.
Oh, it is?
Yep.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yep,
Okay.
it's both a city and the country.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they split that whole
My
thing. Split
apologies
up.
to the people of Bratislava.
Yep, I've been there.
Ah,
It was nothing like that.
it's not a depressing Eastern Bloc horror show.
I mean, there's some definite architecture that was of the brutalist kind left over, but honestly, it felt not that different from the other parts of Eastern Europe we were in at the time. So yeah, everything wasn't all covered with graffiti, and that Russian guy who shows up in Eyes Wide Shut and Bond movies and Slow Horses isn't there, and there's not trash all over the place. So yeah,
I have to say that scene does have one of my that sequence has my favorite scene, or one of my favorite scenes.
Oh,
The one that actually makes me laugh. When they're like, well, we've got $1.87, what can we afford? And they end up in a 5-star hotel because of the exchange rate.
yeah,
And at one point, Scotty tips one of the guys a nickel,
yeah.
and the guy goes, "I opened my own hotel."
I quit.
I thought that was hilarious.
Yeah, because let's make fun of people in the poor country that, yeah. I
Yep,
get
sorry,
it.
tasteless but funny.
Well, there'll be a lot of that in this film.
Yes.
Hey, speaking of tasteless and funny, let's talk about that nude beach scene. Did that catch you by surprise?
Yes, that was a bit of a shock because you get full frontal male nudity,
I'd say at least 50 of them.
at least. And honestly, I got no problem with that. I think good. I always thought that was one of the stupidest aspects of the film rating system is in a PG movie,
Yeah.
you can show female nudity.
Yep.
That's okay, but you cannot, as soon as you show male frontal nudity, that's an R rating. Bang.
Yeah.
And it's unbelievably hypocritical.
And the thing is, the way it's portrayed is not really titillating or sensual
it's
at
just-
all. It's a bunch of naked guys running on the beach, and things are flopping. As you
The
would
whole
expect.
joke is they go to a nude beach for the reason most horny American men go to a nude beach. They want to see women. But the joke is the women all know this and don't go to that beach.
Yeah.
So it's a huge sausage fest.
Yeah.
And when one woman, Michelle Trachtenberg, shows up, they turn into like a pack of rioting hyenas.
Yeah. And go racing after her, and they all
Which-
run. Apparently, I left this out of trivia, but Jacob Pitts, once he dropped his shorts, he wouldn't pull them back on because he thought it was funny that it made everyone else uncomfortable. So he just kept swinging the entire time they were shooting on that beach.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, sure.
Probably the most interesting fact about Jacob Pitts,
Very likely.
Zazu's son.
Yeah, again, I think that there's some funny stuff there. I think that sequence goes on too long,
Yeah.
but yeah, that was kind of funny.
Apparently it was also really cold. So like between shots, they were all huddled under blankets, which
God.
probably was one of the reasons it didn't get an X rating.
And everyone's yelling, shrinkage, shrinkage.
Yeah, pretty much. I got to say, is it a bad thing that I like Matt Damon better than the two heroes?
Matt Damon, whatever else you may think of him, is very likable. He
Yeah.
always is in the movies, and he has more charisma than either of the major leads.
Yeah. And I'm giving a little bit away. I didn't like the two main characters very much.
There are times when at least Scotty can be likable, and then he tends to throw it away.
Well, there's kind of nothing there. I mean, he's like,
Yeah.
oh, I want to go and get together with this woman who I thought was a guy. Except I didn't like her because she was a guy. I got along with her because I got along with her, and I was able to be myself because I wasn't trying to get her into bed. And which is actually real kind of interesting if you think about it, right? It's like, oh, it's email because there's no photos in 2004.
Yeah. Apparently nobody could send photos by email. They hadn't invented that yet.
No, she sent one snapshot and said, this is a picture
yeah.
of me, and I don't know who the other person's name was, but it's this tall, blonde,
Jan.
doopy-looking guy. And he assumed that Mike, which is how he's mispronouncing the name, and Mika was the guy, and so he would just talk. But I think it's actually, in a way, there's this... And it was nothing meant by the director, I'm sure. There's a really interesting comment about how somebody can be attracted to somebody because they're able to be themselves with that person.
Yeah.
And, it's kind of sad because we know what's going to happen. When he meets her, he's not going to be himself. He's going to be what he thinks she wants, which is a shame.
Yeah. One of the things I did kind of like, and it's just a moment and they throw it away and they don't do anything with it, that I did kind of like their relationship, is at one point when... Early on, Scotty says, I'm in love with my pen pal. And Cooper takes that to mean he's gay, and he's coming out to him. And he is remarkably chill. For a 2004 movie, he's very calm about it. And he's very like, that's cool. I appreciate your coming out to me first. You know, don't worry about telling everybody. He's like, no, I'm not gay. And again, even when he says, I'm not gay, it's not like, oh, God, no, I'm not. It's not panic. It's just like, no, you got it wrong. That's why he's annoyed. I thought that was surprisingly more advanced for those characters, and they don't really live up to that later in the movie.
Well, no, because then we get Fred Armisen as this Italian guy who likes to sit too close to, I think, who is it, Jamie?
It's Jamie, and eventually he ends up with his pants off, and he's trying to massage him.
Yeah, and he just, they keep going through tunnels, it goes dark. And it gets dark, and when the light comes back on, his hand is further along, or something else is going on, and he just goes, mi scusi, mi scusi, mi scusi. And... I can't tell. Are they trying to say that all Italian men are gay? I couldn't even tell what that was supposed to be.
No, it's the idea that there is a cliche that Italian men don't have a lot of sense of personal space boundaries.
Having been to Italy and Germany and Austria, England, Scotland, where else? Hungary.
Okay, Phineas Fogg, what are we getting to?
The Germans were the ones with the problem with personal space. Everywhere we went... If there were if there was a train car and there was 6 seats, and we were nearest the window and there was 4 seats open, the Germans would come and sit right next to us. They wouldn't sit next to leave space.
Of course, it is the most efficient way to sit. This will leave the greatest amount of space open for additional people.
Well, and to be fair, in a way, that might be true. When I stayed at a campground in Norway, at a fjord, this long tract of land left open for tents. We went to the very end. We went hiking, came back down. There was a tent right in front of ours. There's a whole chunk of land with nobody on it. And who were they? They were German. And it's like, what? Oh, they're going to stand really close to you right now and speak so you can smell our breath.
You understand that this movie is largely about cultural stereotypes, and one of them is that Italians, particularly the men, they'll put their arm around you, they'll sit on your lap practically. They're very physically close. They're very physically affectionate.
I guess I never actually saw any evidence of that in Italy, but okay. I very much felt like it was supposed to be some sort of weird gay joke thing that I guess.
I don't think so. I think it was again about the just
his
the
pants
lack
were
of
off,
boundaries.
Max.
Yeah, but he wasn't actually trying to hump the guy.
We didn't see that part because that's when he gets thrown out into the hall. So yeah.
Yes, and then we get an unnecessary shot of Fred Armisen's ass.
Is it really in this film? Is it really unnecessary?
I suppose not.
I would like to debate that point.
I do have to say, Fred Armisen is the only reason that scene is at all funny.
He throws himself into it. I will give him that.
He does not hold anything back. Fred Armisen is hilarious. He is a terrific performer.
Did you happen to watch through the credits?
I did.
There are some outtakes in there. Spoiler, some of the outtakes are funnier than the stuff in the film, if you know what I mean. But there is one point where they're showing bits of that scene. They're trying to film it, and Jamie just can't help from laughing. Every time he turns and looks at me Scoozy, he just starts breaking up, which I can totally understand.
When he's licking the side of Scotty's face, and Scotty can't keep it together. He can't stop laughing.
That was funny. There is some other odd messaging in here. So the beginning of the film, we have Scotty, and he can't wait to see his girlfriend, Fiona, whom I guess she's a year older, and she's gone off to college. And
I thought she was younger, and she was going to go off to college.
No, I think he says, I'm going to go join you in college. So she's off on her own. And she basically breaks up with him because he's so predictable. Because, the last thing you want in a boyfriend is stability.
Right. Or someone you can that you can count on.
Yeah. I guess this isn't so much of a message film.
No, it's not the message. It's that she is not a good person. We're supposed to be. And they do it I think that's something they do very quickly and very well. Is they establish the characters very quickly.
Yeah.
Regardless of how boring, uninteresting, or cliche the characters are, they use shorthand pretty well to get us an idea. We know Fiona's the jerk.
Yeah. Well,
Scotty's the nice guy.
Except nobody's on Scotty's side.
Not really. Everyone just sort of seems to think it. Yeah, nobody is like, oh man. Well, no, Jenny is sorry. She says, I'm sorry, about that. But everyone else just thinks it's hilarious. Or like, wow, this is brutal. I got to watch it again.
Well, even Jeffrey Tambor, I'm sorry.
What he's doing in this movie, I don't know. And I'm sorry, what a waste of Jeffrey Tambor, who is hilarious, a terrific actor.
Yep.
He's in like 2 scenes. He has like 4 lines, maybe.
Yeah, then whatever. Yeah. But now there is a lot of stereotypes for Europeans in here. The whole the Dutch except here's the thing: I've been to Amsterdam, the red light district, and the sex club. That's true.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, that's not an exaggeration.
No.
I did like the Dutch rastas.
Yeah, especially when it's like, oh man, there's nothing in the brownies, man.
No, we don't sell hash brownies, man. This is just a Dutch bakery.
I got to tell you, if they don't have any in their brownies, they're the only ones. Because even back in 1985, that was a thing.
I mean, when I'm watching, it's Jenny and Scotty are in there, and they eat an entire plate of of what they think are hash brownies.
They'd be dead.
Yeah, I'm sitting there going, you are going to wake up in the hospital if you're lucky.
Yeah. So, I mean, is the sex club as depicted true? Maybe. There is probably S&M clubs that people like that sort of thing. The safe word
but how many of them
Dutch.
How many of them have Lucy Lawless in them as a dominatrix?
Man, did they disguise her or what? Because I did not recognize her.
Even with those eyes, Lucy Lawless has incredibly distinctive eyes.
I'm going to go with waste of Lucy Lawless, too. Because she barely has anything to do. She's fine in what she does, but it's just sort of throwaway.
That was another thing in the outtakes, obviously in Amsterdam. That I wish they had in because that was like one of the funniest bits when the late was welcome. This is one of Amsterdam's most luxurious hostels. If you have personal items or valuables, they will be stolen unless you secrete them in your anus.
Yeah,
it's like if there is a fire because of our faulty wiring or the fireworks factory upstairs. You will die in the resulting inferno, and all of your possessions in your anus will be destroyed.
Yeah.
I thought that was really funny. I was sorry that wasn't actually in the movie.
Yeah, weird that, isn't it?
Yep.
I gotta say, there was one racial stereotype, or one cultural stereotype that was really kind of dead on, and that was the football hooligans. Let's face it. That was absolutely believable. Except, I love the idea. This did make me laugh, that they convinced them
The Americans convince them that they are also Manchester United fans by singing "My Baby Takes the Morning Train."
Yeah.
Like, okay, sure.
It could be. I mean, we found out through the trivia that Scotty Doesn't Know is the actual song of the Brazilian football club. It's true. Look it up. Also, there's actually a really great outtake with the lead guy who plays the lead soccer hooligan there. He was sitting there screaming at the drivers in France that they're on the wrong side of the road. And the best part is he's screaming, he's like, "You wankers, get on the wrong side, blah, blah, blah." And he just goes, "I'm knackered." He's like too tired. He's tired from yelling. That was actually pretty funny. I like that part.
That was funny. It still amazed me. He opens 2 beer bottles by shoving them in his eye sockets. Like, ow!
Yeah, obviously not.
I know you can do that. I've heard of that, but ow!
Yeah, I don't think so. I gotta ask you a question though. One of the scenes, there's a scene where they're waiting outside the Louvre. And there's a really, really long line.
Yep.
And they have a mime fight, although it's not really mimes.
Oh, come on. I can't help it. I thought that was funny. The guy doing the robot, they end up doing dueling robots.
I just didn't see the point in it. Like, it doesn't lead anywhere. They never even go to the Louvre.
Yeah, I don't know why they were online there. And by the way, if you go first thing in the morning, you can get into the Louvre just fine.
Yeah. I just was like, really early on in the film, I bet you did the same thing. I wrote a prediction, which is how long before somebody realizes they're in love with Jenny?
Yeah. Well, I don't know about in love with, but it's Cooper just wants to have sex, and it's like, hey, wait, she actually is. And over the time, he realizes, oh, wait, I am actually sexually attracted to this person.
Yeah, and might actually be the one person in this film you're probably going to have sex with.
Yeah.
Besides that rototiller that they have in the sex club. I actually love the fact that there were these 3 spongy cones that spun, but in the middle was a feather.
Yeah, that was confusing.
And then he's walking funny the next day, and it's like, why?
Yeah, there's nothing in there that would have actually damaged him.
No, but he finally, says the word, I guess.
do like the idea that the safe word was something in Dutch he couldn't pronounce.
Well, that's true of any Dutch word.
Yeah.
I gotta say, the geography in this movie is interesting.
Baffling.
Because they fly first to England, and then they go to Paris. Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, you can do that.
They're trying to get to Berlin, so naturally from Paris, they go east to Amsterdam.
Yeah.
That's not where Amsterdam is.
But I do like that Cooper has the ugly American sense of European geography. It's like, oh, come on, Paris is practically a suburb of Germany, of Berlin. I do like, the France and Germany are right next to each other. That's why they've always been allies.
Yeah.
Like,
Real quick on the absinthe. People don't know absinthe was in fact known as the Green Fairy. The idea that you hallucinated was apparently more than overblown, and you had to drink a ridiculous amount of it to ever get that to happen. That being said, it was outlawed in the States and a number of other places for many, many years. You can get it now, even with wormwood. And guess what? It doesn't make you hallucinate.
Also, unlike the label that we see in the Bratislava bar, it is not 75% alcohol.
No.
It is not 150 proof.
And it doesn't glow either.
It does not glow.
The most interesting way to drink it, let's see if I can remember this, is you have a small glass, and you have this little slotted spoon made especially for this, and you set the ice cube on fire, and you drain the absinthe through it. And it actually turns it from a clear to a cloudy mixture.
No, it's not an ice cube. It's
a sugar cube. Sugar cube.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry about that. And it turns it from clear to cloudy.
Yeah.
That being said, you look at it and you're probably trying to figure out what's it going to taste like. What's going to taste like? It does not taste what you think it's going to taste like. It tastes like licorice.
Yeah, it's just another it's an anise-based thing. It's like Pernod.
Yeah. Wormwood is apparently some sort of thing that they make it out of. But again, yeah, it's fine. I actually kind of liked the little green fairy that showed up. He was kind of funny.
He was funny.
I'm at that point where I'm just about out of notes except for the wrap-up to decide if we like it. How about you, Max? What do you got left?
I think we've gone through, although I have to admit, when they're in the Vatican, that gets so over the top.
Yeah.
I kind of like where Scotty lurches out and in effect becomes the next, or appears to become the next pope.
Yeah.
That's very odd. And the that was something else. The fact that there's really no consequence to that, even though they say you're in big trouble, and next thing you see, they're out. Like, they would have torn him limb from limb. The Swiss guard would have ripped his head off and used his head to beat the others to death. Well, the Swiss guard do not mess around.
No, they yelled at my mother. She was in the way. They told her to get out of the way.
Yeah. They've never lost a pope, so they say, at least not to overt violence, in 400 years, and they're very proud of that.
Well, remember what I said in the trivia, that the audiences in Italy rioted at that scene. Really?
Yes, but you were making that up.
Was I?
Yes, you were.
Well, then why don't we just get to the roundup and we'll see what we make up there.
The finish.
So, Max.
Yeah.
Eurotrip.
Yeah.
What'd you think?
There are some funny moments in it. I laughed a couple of points, but overall, I don't think it holds together. I think there's funny stuff interspersed with a lot of cliches, a lot of standard jokes, and a lot just like, aren't foreigners funny?
Yeah.
And again, I don't think the leads are, except I like Michelle Trachtenberg. I don't think they gave her enough to do. She was way too peripheral. I didn't think that the main characters were particularly interesting, likable, or identifiable. So it's okay. I just, overall, I'm not sure it works. What about you?
Well, some of my notes include script seems infantile.
Seems?
Hot tub scene at the party is amazingly dumb and unfunny. Let's see, what else do we have? Every joke falls flat. What else do we have in here? The scenes seem only vaguely connected. It's almost like little skits barely stitched together to make a travel film. That being said, if I were a younger person seeing this for the first time, I might enjoy it. The same way people enjoyed American Pie. Although, to be fair, I was, I think, in my 40s when I saw that, and I still laughed. I thought that was a funny movie. And we had to see our entire episode on American Pie.
Yeah.
There's nothing really inventive here. I don't find the humor anything but predictable, really. Some of it's just, it's not particularly nice for women, right? Because we have that one scene in the hot tub where it's like, all we're here for is to look at her boobs. Okay, fine. To be fair, there is a sausage fest at the beach. Okay, I'll give them that. At the beach. But again, I thought some of the outtakes were funnier than what made it into the movie. I kind of would almost rather see a documentary of the making of this film, because I bet it'd be a lot more fun. Yeah. It's felt very awkwardly put together. The humor didn't really appeal to me for the most part. I don't like any of the main characters. Michelle Trachtenberg's fine, I guess. All I can think of is, why are you with them? These are three people you really don't want to spend time with. You're just pretending you do or something, because you could have anybody else in Europe, really. There's this Christoph guy, and the only reason she doesn't go with him is he's married, which is portrayed in Europe as, so what? We all do this.
We always shoot Claude.
Yeah, pretty much. So Scotty Doesn't Know, really catchy song. Honestly, best part of the movie. If I ever met Matt Damon, I wouldn't just throw that at him, but I would sort of give him the look like, I'm not going to say Scotty doesn't know, but you know what I'm thinking. Once in a while, there's something kind of sort of funny, but I didn't laugh once. I really didn't.
Okay,
not out loud.
I did. This movie did get a few laughs out of me, I will say.
If I was under the influence of something, I might enjoy it. But yeah, I'm going to go with no. But what I am going to go with in a totally different direction is our poll question.
Oh, yes.
We would like to know, and I don't know where I got this idea, what movie did you just find blindingly unfunny even when everyone around you was laughing themselves sick? Let us know. And how do you do that? You can email us directly at us@maxmikemovies.com. Speaking of maxmikemovies.com, you can go to our website where all 270 previous episodes are there, plus specials, plus other stuff. You can leave comments on particular episodes, or heck, just give us ideas for movies and series you would like to see. In fact, your comment for one of our poll questions is going to make up 1/3 of this series. You can go to Facebook, where we are Max Mike Movies. And if there is a podcast app out there, there's a good chance we're already on it, except apparently YouTube Music we're not on. Is that the one? No, Amazon Music.
Yeah. No, it's YouTube Music. We're not on Amazon. YouTube, I hope we will be when they discontinue Google Podcasts.
Yeah, which that makes sense.
Which we are on.
Yeah. But Max, which movie have I picked for next week?
Well,
Yeah, I just realized.
Hang on, I will use my fantastic telepathic powers. I have to change my pants.
That's not a prediction. That's a result.
Excuse me. Now, what are we watching next week, or what of our listener suggestions? Are we going to listen to?
No.
Watch.
That was this week. We had Dave to thank for watching Eurotrip.
So this next one is your fault.
This is my fault.
Which one is your fault?
So we've been kind of doing it, we just started this series, but we've been kind of doing a little bit of newer, classic. In this case, this was a newer choice. But I'm going to stick with newer, and I'm going to pick one that's only about 10 years old. It's a film I have not seen. I'm betting you have. And it stars one of my favorite comedy duos, which is, of course, Batman and Robin. No.
What?
It is Simon Pegg and Nick Frost, and I'm going to choose World's End.
Oh, okay. The third of the Cornetto trilogy.
Yeah, and it's a film I have not seen. I really do like Simon Pegg and Nick Frost. They are a darling couple. But is that going to be enough for a film like this? Is it actually going to be funny, or are we going to rip it into little shreds and call it Eurotrip 2? I don't know. But there is only one way to find out, and that is to join us next time on Max Mike Movies.
Your life depends on it.
Well, your life does.
This has been a co-production of The Voice of Max and The Movie Wrench.